ko eri abannayuganda ku ssaawa 2 zennyini ez'ekiro. Guys, will keep you posted. And the MPs also task UCC to save subscribers from fraud and fair telecommunication services, among many other things, and the government to sack accountant officers over delayed project and arrears. I'm joined by Pamela Isomata Chom, and this is what's happening in the country. My name is Mr. Henry. Good morning. It is the 20th of July. Zile dakika musanvu wetwogera zezakavako ku saa 5 ez'amakya olunaku olwaleero. We are reliably informed that olunaku olwaleero Badman.
Yeah.
The man them. Our jaja.
All the words you know. Yeah, he's going to be speaking today at 8 p.m. That's where he's going to be speaking from as a president. It is a national address on current affairs.
Especially.
Current affairs. We know the things that people are complaining about.
He's
First
going
of
to
all,
tell us to eat muhogo again.
I don't know. Maybe. There is the fuel crisis that is still
Definitely.
going on. There is a hunger in Karamoja, of which yesterday I think they flagged off food to Karamoja Region Minister for Disaster Preparedness. But people still expect him to speak about it because people have been dying. And also other districts. Yes. The leader of opposition in parliament yesterday said it is not only Karamoja region. There are other regions even in places where soils have always been fertile, but there has been, the weather conditions have not been stable, so people's crops dried.
Yes.
So there is famine in
Definitely.
every, so we expect him to talk about that. We expect him, the borders also are crying on registration. Some of them are saying tebaja kwewandisa until the president comes out and
says something.
Explains himself. So probably he'll speak about some of those
olowooza kiki agenda okwogerako noti musanve munoti 2 naye olwaleero saawa 2 ez'ekiro. We'll keep you posted, guys. Stick around. You will also be seeing the information on our social media platforms. Galaxy FM UG on Instagram and Twitter, and 100.2. That is on Facebook. 100.2 Coalition Kumikawamuze MPs task the Uganda Communications Commission to save subscribers from fraud and unfair telecommunication services.
The recommendations yesterday. Remember last week, Magogo, who is the chairperson of this ICT committee, appeared last week, and he gave some of the matters concerned. And yesterday they discussed recommendations to Uganda Communications Commission, which regulates telecommunication companies. Now, MPs concerned, they are saying one of the recommendations for the UCC is that they should handle fraud. One of the MPs raised the matter of SIM cards registration, that when you lose a SIM card, for instance, getting the replacement costs you having your national ID.
Definitely.
Some people do not have the national IDs, and some people's lines have already been, when I have my line and it's lost, probably I have some money on it. So that money usually disappears in ways of fraud. Yeah, somehow mysteriously when you lose your line. Some people get back their lines and they don't find the money. Other people just can never replace their lines, and they don't know how to trace back some of the money that was in their lines because they didn't have IDs.
That when you lose a line, you're supposed to replace it with a national ID. If you don't have a national ID, you cannot replace a line. So people end up losing their lines with money on. People end up registering lines in people's names because of that challenge. So I request the committee to take up that recommendation.
I totally agree. The question is, for some of us that lose our lines and go and replace them and the money doesn't come back, or some of us that lose lines and lose phones and the lines are never replaced, what happens to that money?
Auntie, that's the kind of fraud. Like, there's no way you can trace it back.
Government to sack accounting officers over delayed projects and areas that are working for the government, or
the Ministry of Finance. This is actually Ramadhan Ngobi, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance. I think it was early last month when he wrote a letter dismissing 100 accounting officers from most areas within local government because they failed to present budgets for quarterly release of finances. I mean, the government gives you a time frame and says within this period, we want all accounting officers from different districts or municipalities to send back the budgets so that we can release money. But by the time the deadline had expired, most accounting officers, these 100, had not presented the budgets.
Yes.
So it affects service delivery to the people, because now how can the government release money for a budget that is not a budget that has not been presented, for a region that has not presented a budget.
It's not about submitting budgets. We know it is also about submitting progress reports on a quarterly basis. It's high time that more whip is done for errant accounting officers who do not follow these public finance management regulations.
We shall not relent on this. We are going to ensure that those circulars we issue are enforced to the letter in terms of what the accounting officers are required. I'm currently meeting my colleagues, the accounting officers in the government. I've met to ensure that what we agree on is what we deliver as a team.
We'll keep you posted on that, but I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a step in the right direction.
So they're actually not going to exactly fire them. They will maintain their offices. For instance, if you're a cow, you remain a cow within a district, but you will lose the accounting position because you have been incompetent.
So what are you cowing?
Remember, government does not exactly fire people.
If you've lost the accounting position,
Yeah.
what are you cowing as a cow?
Until now, you'll be there doing other duties, but when it comes to accounting, you lose that function.
There's a lot of
accounting
lenience in
officer.
our government. I mean, if you fail your job, they need to fire you.
So this man wanted to fire, but the Minister for Local Government retaliated and said you cannot fire without finding out the reasons, of which some of the accounting officers gave their reasons. So Ngobi said the ones who gave logical reasons will be left to continue working. But the ones who failed to give logical reasons why they failed to write budgets will be stayed in their positions, but they will be dormant in
and
terms
what
of
reasons
accounting.
are going to be accepted as logical?
Some
There's
of
a
the-
chituri
were
there. There's a
reasons-
hole.
No, they gave logical reasons because it's just not about the accounting officer. It is a whole team. They first of all, resolutions have to come up from municipality councils, and then they have. It is a joint thing.
I don't think a lot is going to change. They've put a lot of red tape on it, yeah? So bakisibye 12:15 zisanguseeko. The Ministry of Education has dropped the move to formulate the Information and Communication Technology Policy.
That is the ICT policy. Of course, there's been issues about students using phones and that confusion amongst teachers, schools and parents on it. So the Ministry of Education had decided to write its own policy on ICT, on why it's important for kids to have gadgets at school and some of those things, like with guidelines.
Why my son can come with a MacBook at school and yours can't, eh?
Yes.
Why I can give my son an iPhone 13 and yours can't even afford a Samsung.
Yeah, so those have been the concerns, and those are some of the guidelines that the Ministry of Education was supposed to come up with after consulting with parents, stakeholders in schools and all that. But they decided to cancel writing that policy. They're like, let's just follow the national policy that is already existing.
Things remain the way they are.
Things remain the way they are, but we initiate guidelines.
There are
That
schools
is-
we go to. I've
Yeah.
visited a couple of schools where students are in a different world.
Yeah,
They have phones that we don't have.
those are international schools, man.
And they schools.
There's a divide. There's a clear divide between international schools. First of all, are not even under your UNEB. They don't study under our UNEB system.
I hear
Hey.
you nib.
For them, they are
You've said
studying
that
is
with a lot of
another
pain, eh?
world. Yeah, I know. It feels bad.
Okay. Guys, chikumika umuze Birikwori, your number one swag station. Sereko has troubled the cyber bill seeking harsh penalties for offenders. That's the last story we have for the day.
Yeah, this is the Computer Misuse Act Amendment Bill. He tabled it yesterday. Some of the things it looks out to is prohibiting of sharing, sending information, promoting hate speech on social media or media platforms, and then also using my information, like the way I can share your picture or information about you without your permission. Then the way you can get false information, you've not
Yes.
clarified it. Then and now just you go on pushing it on several platforms. WhatsApp, you promote a message that is false. So the bill seeks to curb some of those things.
ayagala okukozesa kompyuta okusoma okusuubula tewaliuka okuyinako buzibu naye ayagala ogikozesa okulimba n'okusiga obukyayi n'okwawula mu bantu ndowooza buli kimu kirina okubaako n'ekkomo kino kijja kuyamba era gwe bw'onoowulira akaayana ennyo manya yabadde agikozesa obubi naye omuntu abadde atundirako ngoye ze kino kimukwatirako nti omuntu anaaba omukulembeze ate waliwo by'otakola kakati omuntu ajja kuddeyo agaye nti kino sisobola kikola neteekateeka okwesimbawo mu myaka 5 ndowooza kino omukulembeze takikola tadda ku mikutu navvoola banne tadda ku mikutu navvoola eddiini y'abalala tadda ku mikutu navvoola eggwanga ly'omulala kubanga ogenda kubeera mukulembeze anaalema okusasula fayini asibwe.
awayogeddemu bubi
lwaki
anaalemu osasula fayini asibwe ku peegi yo gye wakeera ne weeteerayo
Ah,
mu mannya go nga gwagirwaninga. Where's the freedom of speech and expression
that's
in
what
this
people are
country,
saying,
in the
but people are
democracy?
misusing this freedom of speech and expression by promoting hatred, inciting violence
Yes.
sometimes, and also building like killing people's esteem, like on social media
Body
platforms.
shaming and
Yeah, so all those things, they need to be handled.
People
And
are-
even you as a leader, like there's a way you're supposed to carry yourself.
What penalties are we looking at? Bagenda bafininga sente meka if at all this bill comes to pass, and okusiba kyo kwegamba simanyi na kumanya.
Now, there's for you as a public officer, for the next 10 years,
Yes.
you will not hold any public office.
If you violate
Yes,
that
if
as
you're
as someone
involved.
in the public office,
Yes, exactly. Then there's another penalty of you. There's a penalty of you spending up to 15 years in jail. Yeah, if you're caught in some of these, then the money is as heavy as even 1 billion for some of the penalties. That
what do you think, guys? On 0707102102, that's after the break. For more stories, you can check out www.galaxyfm.co.ug. Pamela will be back here later on in the day. Still coming up in this hour, Ebyaka Bibi Njinyo will be having new music. We'll be having Olugambo. I'm going to be joined by Flora Shaw and Pam. Before I let you go,
yeah.
today is Wednesday.
I
take-
know.
You take him to your bedroom or his bedroom, okay?
Yeah.
Turn off the lights and play this song. You will thank me later. Hi, Bambe. Good morning, guys. This is the mid morning.
Zzina.